The world's been talking about the Motorola Razr 40 Ultra, and even I am waiting for my unit to arrive so that I can start testing it out and share my experience with you guys. But in the meantime, I got a chance to spend a few days with this phone. This is the Motorola Razr 40 and I have a few things to address. Hello everyone, I'm here for Fiiber and welcome to my review of the Motorola Razr 40. So as you all know that Motorola recently unveiled two new smartphones in the Razr 40 series. The Razr 40 Ultra with all the top tier bells and whistles and a matching price tag of 89,999 rupees. This one on the other hand is priced at 59,999 rupees and with the bank offer you can grab it for 54,999 rupees. It is obviously a trimmed down version of the Ultra, not just in terms of price but also in terms of hardware. But has Motorola done enough with the Razr 40? Let me try to answer it for you. Being the vanilla Razr 40, this phone sports a generic flip phone design. So a small 1.4 inches external display on the outside as opposed to the large 3.6 inches panel found on the Razr 40 Ultra. Flip it open and there's a tall 6.9 inch hole punch display. What I really like about the design here is that unlike how Samsung does for their flip phones, this one folds flat and practically there's zero gap in between, and that's why Motorola calls this a gapless design. So zero gap, an aluminum frame, vegan leather back, and all in all the Razr 40 has a superb in-hand feel. The volume and power buttons offer great tactile feedback and the fingerprint sensor is embedded into the power button and it works fast and accurately as it is intended to work. With that said, there's one thing about the design and build that I'm not satisfied with, and if you still haven't been able to guess from my actions, I'm talking about the hinge. So despite Motorola claiming that the hinge has been tested 4 lakh times for opening and closing, to me, it did not inspire any confidence. One, it is stiff. Second, while it is able to support multiple angles for the flex mode, but go a little here and there and the phone opens or closes automatically. And third, there is this creakiness that I noticed whenever I opened and closed the phone. I will just try to capture the audio on the mic. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can hear this. So basically, yes, the design of this phone looks cool. However, I do have my reservations about the hinge. I mean, how will this hold up in the long run? That only time will tell. The Motorola Razr 40 features a tall 6.9 inches Full HD Plus plastic OLED display on the inside with 10-bit colors and a 144Hz refresh rate. The external display is a 1.4 inch OLED unit and honestly there's not much to talk about here. I mean, it is fine for quick glance at the time, weather or change a track, but that's about it. And I know Motorola has tried to keep the cost of the phone down in control, but you know, I have a hot take. What if this phone did not have an external display and the cost of the phone would have instead been 50,000 rupees? I think that would have been an enticing deal, but yes, of course, what do you guys think about it? But coming back to this inner display, I think for the price, this is a good panel. There's a negligible crease up to 1400 nits brightness. I already told you about the 144Hz refresh rate, so it is really smooth and of course, it is vibrant. Now by default, the screen color profile comes set at saturated, so I suggest you set it to normal for better overall color reproduction. In our proprietary display test, the colors in the sample images look quite good. Speaking of the reds, greens or blues, the overall colors look quite true to the source, plus even when it comes to maintaining the textures, the phone's screen does a very good job, so no complaints there as well. So watching videos or playing games on this 22:9 screen has been a joy, and also thanks to the loud and crisp sounding stereo speakers, the multimedia experience on the Motorola Razr 40 is pretty good. Listen.
काफी हद तक देखने में लग वही ट्विटर वाला हिसाब किताब रहा है कि वैसे ही आप लाइक कर सकते हो, वैसे ही आप रीट्वीट कर सकते हो, सब कुछ कर सकते हो, बट फिर भी कुछ एक आध चीजें जो मैंने नोटिस करी थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट भी है.
Moving on, let's now talk about the performance. The Motorola Razr 40 is powered by the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 processor paired with 8GB LPDDR4X RAM and 256GB UFS 2.2 storage. Now this is something that I found disappointing because I understand that for a foldable phone, the 60,000 rupees price tag is quite good. But the hardware itself is quite mediocre, and still, I feel that for 60,000 rupees, Motorola could have done better here. So first up, the benchmark scores. In Geekbench 6, as expected, the single core performance is pretty much in line with the mid-range chipsets, but nowhere as close to say a Galaxy Z Flip 4, which is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor. And I know it is not fair to pit the Razr 4 against the Galaxy Z Flip 4, but for now there's no competition. It is what it is, and after the Galaxy Flip 5 launches, maybe the Galaxy Flip 4 will receive a price cut, and after that the Razr 40 is going to feel a lot of heat. Anyway, even in Antutu, the Razr 40 barely managed to breach the 5,50,000 mark. I mean, the Poco F5, a phone that costs half of the Razr 40, features the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 processor, and that phone posted massive on Antutu. So overall, in terms of synthetic benchmarks, a mediocre performance, but even in terms of the overall actual real world performance, mediocre results. So when it comes to the general performance, there are no issues whatsoever with the smartphone, and for that matter, I think most phones these days, even the sub 20,000 rupees phones, are pretty apt at handling basic tasks such as calling, texting, browsing the web, etc. But when you talk about a 60,000 rupees smartphone, you expect performance out of it. And for being a performance powerhouse, well, that it is not. So if you do anything that is taxing on the Razr 40's hardware, like using the camera in the sun or playing long sessions of games, etc., that is where the Razr 40 leaves a lot of room to be desired. Speaking of games, yes, graphics-intensive titles such as Call of Duty Mobile or Asphalt 9 Legends are playable on this phone, but again, not on the highest graphics preset or max frame rates, something that you see from a phone powered by a Snapdragon 8 series chip. Additionally, the phone tends to get warm around the top if you are gaming on the phone for long, and that's when the occasional frame drops and stutters become prominent. Now in terms of endurance, the Moto Razr 40's battery is rated at 4200 mAh, and there's 33 watt charging support, but strangely there's a 30 watt charger in the box. And the battery life is kind of average. Again, I mean, if you're a light user and mostly your usage involves a normal calling, checking emails, texting, browsing, and a little gaming or something like that, then maybe you can get a full day of endurance. But anything heavy like multiple hours of video watching or gaming, and the battery would drain fast. For context, an hour of YouTube video playback drained 19% battery in our testing, while an hour of Asphalt 9 gaming dropped 20% battery. So you can just do the maths. Finally, when it comes to the software experience, there's clean Android 13 with just the necessary additions from Motorola. Then there's no bloatware, no ads, no spam notifications, and all in all, the software experience is quite nice, as one should expect from stock Android. The good thing is that Motorola is promising a total of 3 years of Android OS upgrades along with 4 years of security patch updates, which is quite good. But again, I have two concerns here. Will Motorola deliver the 3 years of Android OS upgrades on time? And even if they do, will the hardware be able to hold up, with these 3 years of Android OS upgrades? That is again something that time will tell. The Motorola Razr 40 features two rear cameras, as is the case with flip phones these days, a 64 megapixel primary OIS lens coupled with a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle snapper. The inner display houses the 32 megapixel selfie shooter in a center aligned hole punch. Now if there's one word in which I can sum up my overall camera experience with the Motorola Razr 40, it would be inconsistent. Now take a look at this photo. So the sky here is exposed well. Zooming in on the building, and again details as well as the grey and red colors turned out just fine. However, when it comes to the greens, look how muted the color looks in this photo. Similarly, this photo, look at the leaves behind me, and yes, I know the tree from the earlier photo and this one behind me is different, but in this photo's case, the phone actually boosted the greens again. In terms of details, no complaints. However, my skin tone looks whitened, or if there's a word like that, I hope you guys understand. So there lies the problem. And by the way, the inconsistency bit that I just mentioned, it remains across lenses. So you just saw the first photo that I showed in the samples. Now the same photo taken from the ultra wide angle lens. Take a look. So in this one, the details go for a toss because the ultra wide angle camera has a smaller sensor, but even otherwise, in comparison to the photo taken from the primary camera, the white balance has this greenish hue and the shadows in the tree's stem are crushed. One other example, side by side. Now this shot from the primary camera suggests an overcast weather, and if this one is right, then looking at the shot taken from the ultra wide angle lens, the color temperature in this photo goes warm. The details, of course, once again go for a toss, and overall the result is subpar. And don't even get me started about the photos taken in low light. In most cases, the photos had a bluish, purplish tinge. Sometimes I even faced focusing issues. Even the details, for that matter, were average in photos taken in low light. Now coming to the selfies, well, selfies shot from the Razr 40 are just about decent. I mean, they're not the best around, but you can say the phone gets the job done. Although I would point out that the HDR performance could be improved here. Maybe a software patch may help. So right now I'm shooting from the Motorola Razr 40. This is a 4K 30 FPS video sample. Now this phone can shoot 60 FPS videos from the rear camera, but that is only limited to 1080p recording. In 4K you can only shoot 30 FPS, and this is the kind of quality that you are getting. Now, one of my major problems with this camera is that while panning, there's a lot of jitter that you can see on the viewfinder, and sometimes that problem, also persists in the final output. So that is there. Stabilization, I would say, is okay in 4K recording, and rest, the colors, sometimes the greens look good. Like this green is looking fine, but this green is looking quite boosted. So yeah, there's a bit of inconsistency, but for the most part, yeah, this is the kind of quality that you're getting. What do you think about my audio? Let me know everything in the comments. Next up is the selfie video. Just like the rear camera, you can also shoot 4K videos from the front camera as well. So this is 4K 30 FPS recording. Again, 60 FPS is also available. 1080p 60 FPS is available. This is 4K 30. This is the kind of quality that you're getting. So stabilization wise, it is quite good. As you can see, the footage is quite stable. And otherwise, I think the colors look quite muted. My skin tone looks too bright. I mean to say, it's whitened. It's not like this. But see, stabilization wise, it is good. What do you think about my audio? Audio is also quite good, but yeah, colors could have been better. Things look muted like all the way around. HDR performance could have been better again. But yeah, this is the kind of overall quality that you get from the front facing camera while video recording on the Motorola Razr 40. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and yes, the final verdict next. Now, making a flagship phone and making a trimmed down version of the same. Now, this formula has been followed by a lot of companies in the past. But in this case of the Razr 40 series, while the Razr 40 Ultra has the price tag along with the hardware and features that go with it, the thing that does not work in the favor of the Razr 40 is the fact that this phone is not only a watered down version of the Razr 40 Ultra, but 60,000 rupees is still a lot for what's on offer. According to me, the camera tuning could have been better. The external display barely has any practical functionality. The battery optimization could have been better. More importantly, I wonder how the hinge will hold up in the long run. So as I said earlier, I think this phone without the external display and a price tag of 50,000 rupees would have been a killer offering. But for now, this is all what you are getting here. Fiiber rates the Motorola Razr 40 a 7 out of 10. But yes guys, what are your thoughts about the Motorola Razr 40 series, specifically about the Razr 40? Let me know everything in the comments below, and as always, for all the latest in tech, stay tuned to Fiiber. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.